I stopped training both sides of my body completely in my new workout routine. Now I'm only training one side, single leg, single arm, rotational work, and I'm gonna explain why, what I was thinking, what worked, what didn't, and why it's so amazing and I'm never going back to train both sides of my body. If both sides of your body are always equally in demand under a controlled load and you're not creating a specificity on one side versus the other, then we're creating an underlying problem that we won't see until it's too late. Because real movement doesn't always work that way. I'm gonna show you exactly what changed, what the research says about it, and 3 big things that changed in my training and why it's a good thing. And I'm gonna show you 3 things that happened in my training that I really didn't expect. Okay, so more specifically, we're talking unilateral training, which is where you train one side of the body at a time. This creates unique kinetic chain tension for you to utilize your body and your core just a little bit more, and also unmask any underlying weakness, right versus left, upper versus lower side, yada, yada, yada. It is, you're working one side of the body at a time. This, for one, creates enough kinetic chain tension that is great for utilizing core more. It helps you understand and see whether or not your left versus your right side is weaker, especially during different range of motion aspects of like bench press. You go for a lockout. You're really strong on the bottom with your right side. Your chest and your shoulder are very dominant, but at the lockout, your left tricep's better, so your right arm's behind when you're going to lock out, right? Very helpful. It's really beneficial, especially for stability as well, more control over just different joint mechanics depending on the movement and the exercise. So I'm training one side of the body, but it's actually just unilateral training, which is just where you train one side of the body at a time. So left versus right, right versus left. It's really good because unilateral training one side at a time, unmasks and reveals a lot of things that are underlying problems that you don't know until you go for your new PR, or you're out in the real world trying to help somebody move something, or you just randomly want to help somebody out. Maybe someone fell and you want to help pick them up and you're like, oh, I pulled something in my back. This unilateral work shows and expresses things that are lacking in our body. Again, stability, etc. With that being said, this is a way to see into that and troubleshoot it every once in a while, or have it as a predominant way of training, especially if you're not tracing higher numbers in the gym, specifically on like big compounds and you don't care about the ego of what your squat, bench, and deadlift are, right? Maybe you're just in there to be more functional, healthier, and stronger in general. Feel good, because you can still build an amazing physique without doing a lot of bilateral movements, but we'll get into that another time. So the thing that surprised me the most about doing this style of training for 6 weeks was not my physique, wasn't this physical aspect. It was when I went back to training both sides of my body at the same time that I noticed a massive difference, and honestly, it changed the way I think about how I write my programs just completely in their entirety, and I won't ever change and go back to what I was doing in comparison to using this unilateral work. So let's talk about why unilateral work works so well, and it's going to be because of 2 reasons. First reason is a bilateral deficit, which is a way of saying that when you work both sides at the same time via barbell or on a machine that is fixated through one singular arm, it is going to cause it to be easier for your body to have one side pick up the weakness of the other side. So if you're on a preacher curl machine and it's hooked up to one lever arm and there's 2 handles, your right arm might dominate the movement, helping your weaker left arm, right? Left arm. And it's going to be this thing where your body will compensate. Now, working one side at a time will eliminate this because it can no longer compensate for the weaker side, and it's going to be very exposed if it's weaker than the other side. So, with that being said, working both sides is going to mask a one-sided weakness issue versus making each side create force independently will help show where your weaknesses are at. Second, it is going to be the stability demand, and I don't mean like, oh, shaky, stable. It is a fully functional, through the entire body kinetic chain demand that makes your body work with itself. So if you do a single arm bench press, it's not just a one arm bench press, it's a one-sided pushing force exercise that's going to create this rotational force through the body that you have to resist, starting from foot placement for leg drive through the core to fight this in an anti-rotational way, producing force to get the dumbbell up off your chest, right? So it can sound more complicated than it is, but just there's a lot more benefits that we don't have to dive into. It just uses more of your body using one side of your body, believe it or not. So those are just two simple concepts. You want me to go into more depth, let me know. But just for now, those are the general ideas, the two concepts that I want you to understand as to why working one side of the body is better than trying to constantly work both at the same time. So now I want to talk about 3 results that I found out training one side of the body through the last 6 weeks made a difference for me. And it's not just, oh, it made me stronger, it made me produce more force, my numbers went up, my joints, like, let's as specifically as possible. The first one was it fried my shoulders every week, which you're initially going to be like, that's bad. No, it tells me that these little rotator cuff muscles like infraspinatus, supraspinatus, stuff like that, these tiny little muscles that attach to, in the shoulder joint, to the humerus, were not working well under this working both sides at a time structure. So working one side at a time showed me that I had shoulder weakness and a lack of shoulder stability and control demand in my shoulder that I didn't know about until I started working one side at a time. And a lot of that was through pushing movements, of course, but also rowing movements. And throughout the week, I had to like cup, I had to do a lot of stretching, and I had to make sure I was getting a little bit more rest up top than normal because I was fatiguing a lot faster. And that showed me that it's something that I needed to work on more. The second thing that I realized that I was having an issue with was I was failing on my list because my core was giving out faster every single workout throughout the entire week than usual, which was telling me that I wasn't adequately training my core and like doing actual specific core work. I was having a hard time getting through half of it because my core was so fatigued from doing unilateral work everywhere else that when it finally came to specifically training my core, it fried so much faster because it already had been working so much through the rest of the program, which tells me it was working, that I was training my core without having to sit down and do 40 crunches and 100 sit-ups and a whole bunch of other stuff. Like my core was adequately getting enough stimulation through the other work that doesn't specifically target it. And so when I did train my core, I failed super fast. So it told me I wasn't working my core properly or intensively enough. The last result is when I went back to working both sides at the same time, I was so much stronger. Like everything just felt so much better. Everything was well-rounded. Like I could produce force, I could control it better. Even my eccentrics were better. I felt way more stable. I felt more controlled, like specifically on bench press and RDLs. I felt like I could really feel the muscles working, and I could feel that they weren't fatiguing as easy. I could feel that I felt more sure of the movement. My form felt better without me having to focus so much on, is my form right? Is my core engaged? Like just subconsciously, my body was performing better and it felt stronger. Bonus result. Okay, we're just gonna go over this real quick. Is for those of you that are following my boxing journey, is I'm able to produce a lot more force through my punches because I can rotate a lot better now because my core is used to this unilateral load, and I'm able to control the movement and produce a lot more force through punching, because you don't punch 2 arms at a time, you punch 1 arm at a time, right? So hips feel a lot more strong with the rotation, pivoting off the back foot or the front foot, depending on whether it's a hook, straight right, whatever punch it is. There's a lot more power behind it because the force went up. Now the speed, I need to work on that a little bit more, but overall, my punches are a lot harder, they're a lot snappier, and they're a lot more efficient because I'm able to rotate better. Whether or not you know it yet, you want to start doing these unilateral movements in your workout program. And this is how you can start. It's going to be very simple, very straightforward. Here are just a couple examples for you to start utilizing starting today, tomorrow, whenever you're seeing this video, your next workout program, start using these. First up, instead of doing a barbell back squat or a front squat, go ahead and start doing Bulgarian split squats or lunges. Simple as that. Just switch those out, okay? Just quick switch. Next up, instead of doing a bent over barbell row or a chest supported machine row or any sort of fixated both sides at the same time row, do a single arm row. Now you can do a single arm row on a machine, you can do a single arm row standing up, you can do a bent over dumbbell row unsupported to get that anti-rotational property to get your core to engage. Instead of doing bench press or shoulder press with a barbell or even just 2 dumbbells, switch it out for doing one side at a time. Do a single arm dumbbell bench press, do a single arm shoulder press. Simple as that. Overall, these will get your core and your body to engage in different ways for you to start stabilizing and using your entire body to generate force and stay balanced so one side doesn't dominate for the other side, creating that bilateral deficit. Simple as that. Next exercise day, next workout day, just take a couple of your lifts and switch it out for working one side at a time. So training both sides at the same time, bilateral training, isn't wrong. It's a great way to force your body to get stronger and command heavier loads without taking a lot of time, and it allows you to get through a harder workout in a shorter period of time. If you're a power lifter, you're a competitor in some sort of lifting sport, they are necessary. They're absolutely necessary. However, you need to understand when to utilize unilateral stuff, and you need to take time out to actually do the unilateral work, because doing bilateral movements creates a ceiling that you're going to hit eventually. We all have seen the plateaus. Doing unilateral work pushes the ceiling further and further away, because you're not just producing force, you're owning the movement, you're owning the control and how your entire body works together to produce that movement with force. And that's going to be the difference between gym strength and real strength, which is a bit controversial. Go ahead and tell me about it down in the comments. But I want you to start doing this today or tomorrow. As soon as you see this, your next workout, start using it. So let me know down in the comments which exercise you are most excited or most worried about switching from a bilateral to a unilateral variation, and what your biggest concern is. I'll help you focus on what your cue should be, what your form should be. So let me know down in the comments. I will see you all in the next video. As always, stay growing and stay small. Of course, stay silly. I'll catch you all in the next video. Till then, later.